Garrett Greene, Nicco Morchial, me, Francis Ethel Gum, Calvin Broadus Jr., who is playing quarterback for the West Virginia Mountaineers this weekend. Let's get locked on Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on YouTube. Wicker Wednesday. No, it's okay, guys. You've got it right. It is actually Tuesday. We have moved it up this week with Baylor basketball playing tonight at the Foster Pavilion. So you just get Sydney Wicker a little bit earlier in your week. So you're welcome for that. Sydney, you are surviving, thriving, questionable, but surviving.
Yes, we're making it happen. Thanks so much for having me again, Cam. I like Wicker Wednesday. That's fun.
It's caught on. It's
better
it might be
than
difficult
Sydney
with a lot
Saturday
of Tuesday
or
games.
Sydney Sunday, so we'll roll with Wicker Wednesday.
Does it sound better, or do you just like the implications better of Wicker Wednesday working during a work day? You know what I mean?
think it's just
A subconscious thing.
Yeah, it's a subconscious thing.
I don't often come to the podcast with my plight, but you guys in local sports work very, very hard, and I don't think anyone really kind of understands. So, Sydney, let's take them behind the curtain a little bit. This is was recorded this on Monday. What is it? Day 7 in a row?
Yeah, too many days in a row, pretty much. With election coverage last week, and then obviously basketball season tipping off this week, it has been nonstop on the go every single day. Over the weekend, Sunday was the only day so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all 10+ hour days, because you got Thursday night football, Friday night lights, and then Saturday I went up to Dallas, so 2-hour drive there, 2-hour drive back, and then obviously the whole time you're at the game, and just so much to do. I write all the web stories, do all the editing of the video, obviously ask questions in the press conference. You do it all. People don't realize that you really do it all, but here we are. I've had 2 cups of coffee today and still not awake somehow. But we're making it. The energy is here. This is the last part of my day that I have to do. So I'm really excited for that. And then 2 days off finally. So I'll be refreshed for next week.
Let's go. And there was no way that we were going to make you work in one of those 2 days. Yesterday, we thanked the veterans. Today, we'll thank your local sports people. Thanks, Sydney, down in the comments below for the service. I mean, truly, there's a lot that you guys go through that people do not see. They just see what happens in front of the camera.
Well, thanks for appreciating it.
Well, it's really, Sydney, it's a backwards thing, because it's really a way to validate myself, and my time working in local news is really what this is. It always comes back to me. That's how you do a podcast by yourself pretty much every day. You got to have an ego.
We love a self-aware Kang. So claps to you, Cam.
Thank you. Thank you. I won't get into my schedule just yet. That'll be for another time. I think we all saw my plight in action during the post game against Gonzaga last week. That was brutal. In fact, we recorded on Monday before that game, basically so that I could sleep all day Tuesday after work, because that was a tough one. About 1 a.m. we were doing that. And so you see just what happens in front of the camera. Segue, what we have seen in front of the camera for Dom Richardson in a year and a half at Baylor has been not great. Just not great. I almost pulled up a tweet today that would have embarrassed myself, which is from early January of 2023, talking about how Baylor lacked the Abram Smith runner, that hard, tough runner that finishes runs physically. They didn't have that in 2022. Richard Reese had a good year, but they didn't have that. That's why they succeeded in 21. And here comes Dom Richardson from Oklahoma State. That's your guy. Here's your Abram Smith. Hasn't quite worked out that way. A year and a half, 1 touchdown for Dom Richardson, and now it's done. Dave Aranda made that announcement official yesterday.
Yeah, Dom is off the team. Yeah, Dom, he wanted to, I think, running back wise, we've had some some good production there, and the rotation probably wasn't what he wanted. And so I think he's got a year and he wants to be able to use it. And so I wish Dom the best. And I want to be able to see him get healthy, number one, and then find a spot to where he can, achieve his goals and play a little bit more than he was playing here.
And just like that, Sydney, he's gone. This is not to point out how long you've been here, but have you seen a Dominic Richardson carry since you've been here?
Not that I can remember.
I don't think so.
I was like, I definitely not in person. If it's happened during one of the games I've watched, I also don't remember it. But
She's like, I might have dreamt it. I don't know. There might
yeah.
have been something in the subconscious, to use that for the second time in this pod. It was more like I found it interesting at points this year where it was like, oh, and here's headline: Dominic Richardson might not play this week. I'm like, just like last week when he was dressed and didn't play. Now, what is kind of sad is I don't know that he deserves to have his big highlight, his lasting highlight with Baylor, be the fumble on the goal line that loses the game to Colorado, because it's a great play by Travis Hunter. It's not like he was really fast and loose with the football, if I remember it correctly. Dang, that's a bad kind of lasting memory, isn't it? It's not great.
Probably not how I would want to go out, but if it was to go against anybody, it might as well be against a Coach Prime squad,
which could be in the playoff, by the way.
Which, who would have thought we would be saying that? So I've
got to own up to a lot of that.
Worst thing in the world. At least it was against a really good football player, not a nobody, and a team that has had a lot of hype. So if there are any bright moments from it, maybe that's it. It'll
be a good story to tell the kids someday. Yeah, you see that guy that's picking off Patrick Mahomes 10 years from now in the NFL. He kind of gave me my swan song at Baylor. But I got to do a moment for Colorado, if I could. Yeah. I didn't say they were going to suck this year, but I certainly thought they were going to suck this year. But going into the season, I was like, man, I don't know if Deion can coach. He had a good little season at Jackson State, that last one, and a ton of hype at Colorado, and most hyped 4-8 team of all time. And even through those first couple of weeks, and even after that win against Baylor, I was like, they got killed by Nebraska, which looks worse and worse by the week. They just brought in a new OC at Nebraska. And they have turned this thing around. They are a legit playoff contender. And we knew Shedeur and Travis were the real deal, but they're carrying that team.
100%.
I did not see this coming.
I don't know if anybody really saw it coming unless you were a CU fan by any chance. I've covered Coach Prime a couple times when I was in Mississippi, met him while I covered Jackson State, got to see Shedeur with my own eyes. Same with Travis Hunter.
Were you allowed to call him Deion, or was that?
I was there when he made the whole it's Coach Prime statement. So I just roll with Coach Prime.
It's battleground between local sports reporters and Coach Prime. So I wanted to make sure you weren't caught in the crosshairs of that. Yeah.
Coach Prime is what we stick to. That's what I was told to stick to, and I'll respect it.
Does that, I'm not trying to make this a big thing, but did that bother you? I don't know. I would have been bothered. He's a person. Why can't I just call him by his first name?
Just in the moment, I think it was just kind of like an eye roll thing for me. I was just like, whatever. If that's what you want to be called, okay, whatever. But
other battles to fight kind of thing.
Exactly. I think there's been a lot more reasons to maybe nitpick at Deion than if he wants to be called Coach Prime, or if you want to call him Deion or whatever. I think in the moment when I'm talking to him, it's prime time. But if I'm running my stuff and I'm doing my own reader, then I'm going to call him whatever I want to call him during that segment, because I doubt he's watching. He does not do a lot of stuff with the local media. He does a lot more stuff with the national, and that's fine. But if you're probably not going to give me the time, then I'm just going to stick to saying what I want to say on my broadcast. So.
But if your national network, not even the parent company, is going to do something bad, say something bad about him, it's going to be brought down on the folks like Sydney, which I don't think is fair. I think it's really, but I've already done that. I've already done that segment. Yeah.
They don't realize how they're not correlated. Just
really at all.
No, even though I work for an NBC affiliated station, as you can maybe over here,
On
see,
YouTube, yeah.
we we don't do anything with NBC. Like we're just all on the same channel. I don't talk to Hoda Copy every day. I would love to. If there's any pitch to ever talk to Hoda, this is it. I love her. But like that just doesn't happen. So there's no crossover between the two. If you work for Fox, you're not necessarily associated with Fox News or Fox Sports. You just work
Thank
for
you.
a Fox station. So just let that be clear for the people out there. We're getting sidetracked. I'm sorry.
Dude,
I feel like this is the Monday hangover of like, let's get through the day.
if I had a nickel for every time someone said they wouldn't talk to me or said something, slarmy, if that's a word, about Fox News while I was working at 44, I'd have a couple of nickels. Like I'd have a good amount of nickels. And
100%.
that always just really bugged me. Anyway, Dom Richardson's not on the team anymore,
He's
which is
not.
what I was getting at. And Baylor, I think, is going to be fine because he wasn't getting touches this year. It's like, it feels so bizarre as a guy who opened the season last year as the starter and really came into the season with a shot to be the main back too. Like had a shot at that. I don't think he was the odds on favorite, but definitely had that opportunity to midway through the season be like, yeah, okay. You got Dawson Pendergrass. You got Bryson Washington. Richard Reese in some spurts has been real good. Like he just does not fit in.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. Just with Bryson being so young and what we have seen from him so far, it seems like Baylor is going to be okay. And I think that's probably something that he came to terms with on his own too. I mean, it's probably been tough to watch and tough to compete in. And when you're watching other guys perform better or get the snaps that you want, that's tough to see. And so, if he gets another opportunity or when he gets another opportunity somewhere else, like I hope it's great for him. And it really did seem like Coach Aranda was sincere in wishing him the best. But I think ultimately, sometimes just like with coaching changes, you have to make an executive decision. And at a certain time, they needed other leaders to step up. And Dom wasn't one of those guys. And they've got other guys to do it. And this is where we're at. Now you're at a team who could be bowl eligible, possibly this weekend, and maybe even end the season 7-8 wins, which who would have thought? But if you can still do that, you're in a good place. And it sucks to not have every single playmaker. But ultimately, if you want to play and you're not getting that playing time, then you have to make that decision for yourself.
And we wish him the best of luck, truly.
Mm-hmm.
But this first segment has ran way too long and we're about to run a double ad, so I've got to cut it off here. How about let's talk this weekend's game and who will actually be playing or not playing in this Baylor West Virginia game? That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for our Roy Player of the Week. Now, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You have heard us talk about Roy this season and know that they're revolutionizing the NIL industry. They allow you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. That's what I love about it. You get your money back if the player transfers too. Double love about it. Roy is helping keep our team intact, and it's actually good for the long term. This week, since Baylor's having a bye week, coming off a bye week, I'm going to support Zemaiah Vaughn. You can show your support for Zemaiah Vaughn by depositing a little appreciation onto that player's account. To download the Roy app, you can see what the logo looks like if you're watching on YouTube, or go to joinroy.com. Now, let's spotlight our player of the week. It's Zemaiah Vaughn, who played some good tight man coverage for Utah and late in that game against BYU. And honestly, I think he really put in a game-changing play. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players. Change the game. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Back here with Sydney Wicker, Bears, West Virginia this weekend. I'm already spooked by it. I'm not going to lie to you. We talked about this a little bit last week. This is for another segment. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I get the heebie-jeebies with West Virginia. I do. They've never won there. I've kind of just barely gotten rid of that feeling in men's basketball, but it is still there with football. And lo and behold, you go into you got a bye week to prep for them, and all of a sudden you don't exactly know who's going to be playing quarterback for the Mountaineers. Okay, it hasn't been Garrett Greene the last couple of weeks. It's been, what is it, Morchial? Is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it. I watched their game last weekend, and that's how they were saying it. Nicco Morchial was starting, and now it could be Garrett Greene again. I don't know. Sydney, do you have any beat on who is going to be playing? I know you cover the Bears. Any beat on who is going to be playing quarterback for West Virginia?
I think that's a big coin flip right now. It's really going to be a toss-up.
Failure.
Nicco had a decent game against Cincy, and I think that was really telling for West Virginia as they go into this week. Like, okay, we have a guy who can cover us if we need. But obviously,
that's an upstart Cincy team, by the way.
Yes,
That's
is.
a good Cincinnati team.
I really thought, I was like, my feelings about West Virginia will be more secure after they play on Saturday against Cincy. And then after that game on the road, and it seemed like they had a really good home crowd there. It felt like a home game to them. You could hear them singing Country Roads on the road. That's pretty impressive. I don't feel like you see that a lot.
Cincinnati's a baseball town. It's a baseball town. What can I say? It's also not that far, I don't think. It's on the other, like, Ohio borders West Virginia, but on the other side. So I'm sure there's, I don't know. This doesn't need to be a geography lesson. But yeah, they travel well. They absolutely do. And they're going to have a good atmosphere at home in Motown on Saturday. I would have to believe.
Absolutely. I think when it comes down to figuring out who this guy's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a game time decision. And Coach Aranda made it very clear that no matter what, all week they're going to be prepping for both QBs. Yeah,
and I do want to get what I almost said Dana Holgorsen, who is now the Nebraska offensive coordinator. It's been a while since he was the head coach at West Virginia. It was Neal Brown. Neal Brown is the head coach at West Virginia. And this is what he said on Monday. Garrett practiced today, Monday. We'll see how he does tomorrow, today, when it's 11 on 11 stuff, but we'll see how the week goes on, him. Okay. West Virginia, it's not one of the great bastions of academia. We'll get both quarterbacks ready. I'm not really going to say anything. He practiced a little bit Wednesday, but this was the first he's really practiced. He'll practice tomorrow, and we'll make some decisions as the week goes, but we're not going to comment on it, he says after commenting on it. And I don't know about you, Sydney, but that was a lot of like today, tomorrow, Wednesday, practice, just all kind of mushed together into a pie.
Oh, for sure. That's also part of
that.
Yeah, that's part of you trying to cause distractions for you to stay focused internally. Distract Baylor. Why not? They're on a hot streak. They had an extra week to watch you. Why not say, oh, well, we don't know who's going to be our starting QB. Also, we're going to determine today, or actually we might determine it tomorrow. I don't know. We'll get back to you on it. This isn't going to be a thing. Well, you've already made it a thing. And did you make it a thing on purpose? I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe just to throw a little extra drama.
I have a feeling they know who it's going to be.
I think there's no way that you don't know.
Like I think it's pretty, like I don't even think it's 60-40. I think they know like 80-20 where they're going to go. And it might be like, hey, I have a sneaky feeling it's going to be Garrett Greene, even though they've played pretty well with Nicco the last 2 weeks. I just think at this point, like, I think they're ready to go into this big game. Both teams are up for bowl eligibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling that they're saying this last week was a precaution. We like our chances against Baylor. We like our chances getting into bowl eligibility here in the next couple of weeks. We're going on the road against a hot Cincinnati team, but one that we probably match up well with, that we think we can take out. And you know what? And Garrett's like 50%. Nicco, let's roll with him a little bit. If next week they're up to, maybe Garrett's up to 70%, 80%, and we're going to go with him. And I think that's the way they're feeling this week. Of he's not 100%. This is not the zenith of Garrett Greene. Garrett Greeneth zenith. But we can roll with this guy. And I have a feeling that today and Wednesday, tomorrow, when they really start to ramp it up with kind of that 11-on-11 stuff, it's going to be Garrett Greene there. And I have a feeling Garrett Greene will be starting on Saturday.
I kind of agree with you.
You don't have to, Sydney. You don't have to
I know
agree.
I don't have to, but as I was thinking about it, and
you free will,
trust me, I've gone back and forth on it because I was really thinking, like, what do? You have a guy who's kind of gotten comfortable in rhythm, but honestly, I could maybe see them doing a dual quarterback type game where you have Garrett as the starter, but you bring Nicco in for a couple snaps too, and just kind of rotate in the moment. I don't think that's highly unlikely. I think Garrett's going to get the start if he's in rhythm enough and good enough. I think if they're even talking about it, that means he's got to be healthy enough. Otherwise, you say he's still hurt. So I think if it's a conversation, then he's already at a point where things are looking in a good direction. So I think I could see Garrett getting the start. And I think Baylor is confident in that. And I think that's something Aranda has talked about too. I think he's trying to be 2 steps ahead on this. And now that they've had the extra time, they can study both quarterbacks and what they'd need to do against both of them. It's always different in live action, but they've had the time to look at it.
Next thing to find out throughout this week, not right now, but throughout this week, is which one gives Baylor the advantage. Now the Pistons are turning on that one. Let's talk some basketball, though. Bears just got a big win for the men. Ladies, a bit of a setback. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. ZBiotics Pre Alcohol Biotic Drink, Probiotic Drink, there you go, is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. So here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Mine's getting big these days. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence with the pre-alcohol thing initially. The stigma. But then, while hanging out with some of my buddies, my college buddies, over at place where we went to in college, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it is the real deal. Here's how to use it. 3 steps, okay? Step 1, you drink the pre-alcohol. Step 2, you drink alcohol responsibly. Step 3, you enjoy tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use that code lockedoncollege at checkout for 15% off. Before we get into the men's basketball side of things, Sydney, not a great night up in Eugene, Oregon, Sunday night. If any of you could watch it, it was on the Big Ten Network. There's no post game yet, like nothing. It's almost like this game didn't exist. And hopefully that's the real case. Number 12, Baylor loses to Oregon, 76-74. And it's not been a great week. Bella Fauntleroy left that game early, and it was announced Monday that Jana Van Geitenbeek has torn her ACL and is out for the season. So, like, bad news on top of bad news for the team formerly known as the Lady Bears. And this one kind of stung. Like, no one, not a lot of people saw it. Sabrina Ionescu was there, which was cool for women's basketball. But Baylor does not have a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. In fact, I was kind of critical of them coming into this season that they did not have a stacked non-conference schedule, and the men really did. And the women have not been afraid to schedule big teams the last few years. One being Utah last year when they were still a Pac-12 member and a top 5 team, and Baylor beat them at the Farrell Center. So they don't have that this year. And then the one challenge they kind of do have is Oregon, and they go up there and lose. It's the first big upset of the women's college basketball season. Not exactly the way they wanted to start it, at least in my opinion.
No, and I think, last week we were sitting here talking, and I was like, I think this is a team that could be competing for a Big 12 championship at the end of the year.
As do I.
That game really, I think, was maybe one that they needed to put into perspective, even though early on. I think anytime you play in Eugene, no matter if you're ranked or not, football, basketball, whatever the sport may be, it's going to be a tough environment and a tough crowd. So
Good
even
old-fashioned Big Ten environment, I tell you.
absolutely. Even though it's so weird saying that. I'm not used to
Yeah, I
it.
mean, you grew up, Big Ten
Ugh.
fan. You're used to Oregon these years. Big Ten, Oregon.
Yeah, I know.
I had to get the AP poll came out yesterday, which I know doesn't mean much anymore because of the college football playoff poll time. But someone had commented 4 of the top 5 teams are Big Ten teams. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Where's the 4th team? And I still cannot get around to Oregon being the 4th team, the number 1 team in the
know.
country. Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a good time to be an Oregon
But
Duck, though, I tell you.
it sure is. And gosh, that's just fun. I would love to go to Eugene. I've never been to Oregon, but
That would
I think it'd be an awesome experience.
I would second that. I want to go so
Yeah.
bad. I feel like I've never been to the Pacific Northwest, but I feel like I could live there, like big time.
Really?
Yeah.
I went to Seattle, and I do not think I could live there. Loved Seattle, and it was great to visit. I just like the sunshine a little too much, and I didn't see the sun for 4 days, and it just got depressing.
Yeah, see, I don't need it. I don't
So
need it.
what?
I don't need the sun. I don't
Oh
need it.
my God. After like my
Look at
whole
me.
life, 21 years of living with snow before I moved to Mississippi, I am so over it. I want to be warm and I want the sun. And if you can live in places that give that to you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, Sydney, I felt like that for a long time, and I've been in Texas for almost a decade now, and I'm not gonna lie to you. When it's November and it's still 85, I get angry. I get upset. I miss fall. I'll
I
take
do-
winter for fall, man. I
I
will.
do miss the leaves changing and being cozy and stuff, but this is all temporary because for these 2 months, November and December, I'll be a little sad that I don't have the seasons. But as soon as January rolls around, I'm drinking my coffee on my front porch and sending pictures to my mom who's snowed in. Here for it.
I'll take it.
I'll
for a
get
little
over it.
bit. Just give it like 7 more years. 7 more years. And
Ugh.
I think you'll feel different. I do.
Okay, we'll chat
Men's
then.
basketball tonight.
Yeah.
And someone who is feeling a little bit cozier, segue, VJ Edgecombe, who I thought struggled in game 1. And I was at the game as well on Saturday. And watching the game in the arena, I was like, boy, he's doing it again. He shot 3 for 12. But when I watched it on TV later, I realized he did a lot of little things very well, especially on the defensive end. He rebounded like a monster. He dished out 5 assists. He was moving without the ball. Like, I really liked what we got from VJ Edgecombe. Now he sets up for his first game at Foster Pavilion. Here is how VJ Edgecombe is getting ready.
Like you said, I'm taking it day by day, to be honest. It wasn't your first game being against Gonzaga ain't normal. Especially coming in as a freshman. I'm just bought in right now, just taking it day by day, like I said, trusting my teammates, trusting the coaching staff, trusting everybody, trusting the culture. I got first 2 games under my belt, so now, I'm starting to get in the flow of things. So, yeah.
Hope you love a good sports cliche. Okay, Sydney? Because, that's what you get. That's what you're going to get with a lot of these athletes. That's no shade on them. But VJ Edgecombe's taking it day by day. And
He's locked on, if you will.
We've had fans of Locked On the men's basketball team before. I just imagine that VJ is the next in a long line. And one of these days I'll get NBA tickets out of him. We'll see. But he's locked in and locked on his Baylor Bears. And people are going to see the 3 for 12 shooting and the
Yeah.
1 for 7 from 3, and they're going to say, Cam, you took an edible before doing the show. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's false. I'm taking an edible after I do this show. And for saying that, I think he looks a lot better on Saturday. You were there up close and personal.
Yeah.
What say you?
I obviously watching the Gonzaga game on TV, he struggled. That was obvious, but there was
Massive,
something about
yeah.
being so close and watching him actually have fun. That's something Norchad talked about after the game on Saturday. That's something a lot of the guys have mentioned. He was like, when we played last Monday, we weren't having fun. There was so much pressure. You know, it was a hard road environment to open up the season. And then we let the walls down and we were closer to home and we got into rhythm and we let ourselves play like who we are and get into this new rhythm. For guys like VJ, they were able to have this time to kind of figure things out. And, you know, he talked a little bit in that presser too, just about how over the summer when he got to play with his professional team, he really figured out how to be a guy that's needed all over the place all the time. And so now he's like, I don't care if I put up 20 plus points or if I put up no points. I just want to be a team player. So if I'm not necessarily getting all of the points, but I'm helping with the rebounds or I'm helping with the assists or I'm stealing the ball, I want to be a team player. And I think that really speaks volumes for a guy who's so young. You know, I like that he said, he was like, you know, not a lot of freshmen think about starting their season at Gonzaga. So I couldn't imagine that being my first game in my college
Welcome
career.
to major
but
college basketball, pal. All you got to do is play up at
hello.
Gonzaga, a team that could well win the national championship. How about that game one? Yeah, we do need to kind of pause a little bit in terms of it's literally 2 games into his career. And they've both been
Exactly.
against top 20 teams. They've both been against Hall of Fame coaches.
Exactly.
Some pretty good players and some pretty good teams that both could be in the Final Four. Like that's a legit possibility when you're ranked in the top 20 in the preseason. Sydney, you won't get your first Foster dose because you're going to get a day off. You won't get your first Foster dose until Sunday. Excited for you to have that.
you.
Bears take on Sam Houston tonight. As you're listening to this on Tuesday, we'll have a breakdown either tonight or tomorrow for Wednesday's show because we get some other things to go over as well. I had a question to end with. I don't remember what it was. You know, this one last thing because
All right.
These things bug me. 7 is a great number in 3 of the 4 major sports. I don't know that I love it on a basketball jersey. I don't know why. Josh O wears number 17, which just really bugs me. It makes me think back to like the old George Mikan, like basketball in the 40s, where they just threw random numbers out there. And then they started doing like the 1 through 5, you know, 11 through 15, 21 through 25, 30 to 35, 20 to 25, whatever. Does it bother you? Am I crazy? I can be crazy.
You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy.
Right.
17 was my number when I played sports, so I have a special love for that number just in general. But just like, who cares? Who cares? That's his number. He wants to wear it. Let him wear it.
It looks weird.
Cam. We're
It
stressing
looks
about
weird.
the wrong
I know,
things
and I'm
here.
an old head too. I'm still not on board totally with the NFL letting anyone wear any number. Like it's still, I don't know. I'm very get off my lawn with this. I'm all about player empowerment. So
yeah, when they pay you the big bucks to wear those numbers, you get to pick your jersey. So
yes, that will certainly happen one day. I guarantee it. Here's my parting question to you. Now that we've established that I'm weird about numbers, I asked this around the Waco press corps last year. What is your least favorite 2-digit number?
Least favorite 2-digit number?
Just looks ugly.
Just
I have plenty of them.
Really?
Yeah. This was a whole thing.
I've never
last year
been
with the
asked
media.
this question. I feel like it's got to be something over 50 though. Because then that just makes me feel like old. Like I just start thinking of age. So like past 50, I'm like,
See,
I
you're
don't want to
thinking too
think
much of
about
it.
that
Like,
yet.
I just look at the optics.
Just-
I'm like, that looks ugly.
It has to be an
59
odd
looks
number. I feel like
Probably, yeah.
even numbers are pretty, and not like a 5. You're making me think way too hard about
I
this.
know.
I'm gonna go with 67.
Okay, that's fair. That's not a
Just
good
don't
looking
like
number.
it.
Yeah.
No.
That's not good. Yeah, the next odd number is pretty cool. But no, 67's ugly. 57 is ugly. 59 is ugly. 53 is my least favorite. So, all right, this is good. This is good. We're getting this out there. Please, those of you who are still somehow watching or listening, drop your least favorite 2-digit number in the comments below. I want a flood of 2-digit numbers that you think are ugly.
Wait.
And the people that did not get this far are going to be like, what the hell is going on? Please drop your least favorite 2-digit number in the comment section below. And let me know what you think about this Dom Richardson leaving the team. Who's going to play quarterback for West Virginia and which guy gives the advantage to Baylor? Drop that down in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're dropping a video on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Cindy Wicker will be here every week, and she is regretting that each time we get another show down.
You are so wrong. I love it. Working with you is great, Cam. You ask crazy things, but you keep me on my toes, and I'm here for it.
That's going to be some, I might need to incorporate that. Just some weird kind of off the wall questions. I try to do that for I used to do it for comments, like drop what was your favorite Beatles song or something down in the comments so that we get some more. Anyway, we'll try it. Thank you.
Cam questions.
Thank you to Sydney. Crazy Cam questions. Yeah, that's almost alliterative. Thank you to Sydney. We will have the breakdown of Baylor basketball against Sam Houston tomorrow. We will have it all then on your favorite show. My favorite show. Thank you for making your first listen today and every day. Locked On Baylor.